Hey, everybody. I am so excited for you to hear this week's episode. Today, we're going to be having a conversation with NFL quarterback Carson Wentz. Carson wrote the foreword for my book, Everyday Adventure, which is officially out. You can get it on Amazon or learn more at everydayadventurebook.com. But Carson and I have been friends for the last almost 15 years. And I met him when he was a college student at North Dakota State University playing football. And I've gotten to see every step of his journey since then, of seeing him enter the NFL as the second overall draft and lead his team to a ton of success before tearing his ACL. And I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs, but through it, there's been this consistent pattern of him choosing to put his trust and his hope in Jesus. And when I thought about this book and the concept of everyday adventure and finding joy in the ordinary, I've seen it in his life, the way that he is a dad, the way that he is a husband, the way that he has moved several cities over the course of these last few years, and chooses to embrace each as home. And so I figured he is the best fit for writing the foreword. And today in our conversation, we really talk about his experience, what everyday adventure means to him, and really get into just different parts of his life and his career in a really fun and interesting way. So I'm excited for you to hear that. But also, we're going to be doing a little contest on Instagram. And so if you follow Everyday Adventure and Stephen Glosser, there's going to be a pinned post there. And all you have to do is you have to tag a few people and share that post about the book. And you have a chance to win a signed Carson Wentz jersey. So I want you to participate in that. It'll help us spread the word for the book. And so that'll be coming out at the end of this week, which recording wise, we are talking like February 16th. We're going to announce a winner and we're going to get that jersey to somebody. So make sure you participate in that. If you want to learn more about that, go to Everyday Adventure on Instagram or Stephen Glosser, and that's what you'll need. So enjoy this episode with Carson Wentz. Hey, welcome to the Everyday Adventure podcast, Carson. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
So good. You're technically the first guest outside of Taylor. So congratulations.
I feel honored. I feel honored.
You should be. I had another podcast that had 100 episodes, and I never even asked you. So I hope you're not offended. But I felt like this was the perfect time to break the ice.
Yeah, no, this is good. This is good. Exciting for you too. It's
Yeah,
cool.
for sure. So first, before we get into it, how's the shoulder? How's everything going?
Shoulder's good. Rehab's going along really well. It's obviously it was a bummer. It was kind of annoying, all the things from the season, but kind of just was what it was. You know, that's the game of football, and injuries happen. Unfortunately, not my first rodeo with it either. No, rehab's been going pretty well. This has been a walk in the park compared to the ACL injury all those years ago. So
Yeah.
I'd say probably the last month or so, I felt back to at least like normal for everyday activities and just being dad and living my life and not wearing a sling and all that stuff. So it's going well. Can't complain.
Good. Yeah. I mean, this last season, obviously you signed with the Vikings right before the season started, and just walk through just your emotions, even just going into the season of knowing that you're going to come back. And obviously you didn't know at that point you'd be starting games, but that you'd be on the Vikings, the team you cheered for growing up and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was another interesting offseason of just waiting again and the unknown of if, when, all that stuff. Obviously, still wanting to play, still know I could still do it at a high level. And then the Vikings called, and it was a crash course once again, and had to learn it fast. And it's a very complex offense. It's, Coach O'Connell does a really good job, but it was a lot to learn in a very short amount of time. I knew there was always a chance I could be playing some games. Didn't know what that could look like. Didn't think it'd be as fast as it was within the first 3 weeks of being there. But it was fun. Honestly, I had so much fun. It was a veteran team, a lot of great guys. but I mean, you touched on it. I mean, just going back to Minnesota, being just a couple hours away from where I went to school, a couple more hours away from growing up a Vikings fan, like running out of the tunnel, hearing the horn, like all of the things that it just kind of felt like a little bit of a full circle moment for me. The first game I started as a Viking was at home. We won big, like it was. I mean, it was about as much fun as I've had in the NFL. I think being a backup for 2 years and not really playing in a meaningful football game really made me cherish that one. And unfortunately, the five that I got because of the injury, it made me cherish them that much more. And had a ton of fun. Didn't win as many as we liked. Got pounded a bunch of times, but went overseas and had about as fun of a trip as I've had in my 10-year career, playing back-to-back games in Ireland and then in London, England, and just getting to be around the guys and being kind of now one of the older guys on the team, if not a couple oldest on the team, and just having a new perspective on life and the game and everything. I think was really beneficial for me, and I had so much fun doing it and navigating the surgery and then having our fourth daughter and just the adventure that it was and that it's been for me. It was fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, I got to be at that first game against the Bengals, and it felt like a family reunion. Like, I don't know how many people I bumped into on the concourse that was there to watch you play. But I know, as a kid, we've always joked about this. Like, we had the same dream when we were like 5 years old. Like, we both wanted to be an NFL quarterback. Obviously,
Yep.
injuries from, I'm just kidding. Our lives went different directions, but I mean, how surreal was that? Because I think when you're 5, 6 years old and you're picturing, your life, you actually had that picture in mind, and it was fun to see all the pictures of you in Vikings gear and stuff as a kid, and they really leaned into that. But just what was that like for you in as an individual?
Yeah, no, it really was kind of surreal. It was one of those things, and I touched on it, in some interviews and stuff around the time. But like, I mean, even my first game, walking in, I wasn't starting, but just walking in, seeing my name on the jersey. And I know, you play this game long enough. I've been on so many teams, like I've seen the ups and downs of the league now. In my 10th year, you kind of forget some of those things. You kind of
Yeah.
forget some of those small little joys that the game can bring. And I never thought it would have like almost made me like a little bit emotional in that way. Just because I'm like, here it is again. Like it's just my job. I'm on another team. But there's just something about just seeing my name on a Vikings uniform that just was like almost like a hug from God. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this is your dream. Like 6 hours away, you grew up like wearing this jersey, playing in the park, like all of those things. And so it's kind of weird, I think, with the way life's unfolded for personally and just professionally the last handful of years, just to kind of be there in that moment was like I said, like a hug from God. I remember texting a picture to my dad and brother, which like I never do. Like there's not like sentimental things that we really share in that capacity. And I just sent them like the first game, a picture of me in the Vikings jersey. I was like, this is pretty cool. Um, and so yeah, obviously then once I got past that, I got to play and I had so much fun doing it. But it really was kind of like I felt like a hug from God. Like, hey, I'm still in control and don't know what the rest of the journey holds and all of that stuff. But like in the midst of that little tiny season for me, even because it got cut short with the injury, I just felt like God just saw me and just like I was like reminded that hey, no matter the ups and downs and now another down with the surgery and all that, like hey, I still see you, I still love you, and I'm still writing the story.
That's so awesome. I mean, I one of the key concepts that I really um, believe is the heart of the book is gratitude, and is just being able to see, through our stories and through both the highs and the lows, like his faithfulness, and there's just like this idea of finding the good and finding God, and often when we find good, we do find God, and so I think that's just so cool. And I know you and I have been friends for over a decade now. it's kind of fun. There's this like 2016 trend going on right now where everybody's posting pictures from 10 years ago, and it, if I do that, it looks like I was 14. But that was around the time. I mean, 10 years ago is when you got drafted, and just looking back to that, like, what advice would you have given? What advice would you give that Carson? You're about 2 months away from being drafted, second overall, but just what would you share with him?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a kind of a loaded question, but it's one of those now being 10 years in, and it's easier to say because, oh, well, you've played and you've had the success, the highs and lows, financial stability, like all the things that people would easily say, but it's just like I would tell myself to enjoy it and not make it such a big thing. And not that I didn't. It's just one of those things. I definitely didn't make it bigger than it needed to be, and I definitely did enjoy it. But I think you just feel the weight of it a lot more as a kid. And I'm not gonna lie, you play in Philadelphia, you're gonna feel the weight of it more, no matter what you do. And my faith was still my priority. Like I still had kind of the same values I live by now. Like nothing's changed on that front. I've just lived it. I've lived it. I've experienced it. I've seen the ups and downs of football. I've seen ups and downs from teammates. I've seen teammates retire. I've seen teammates' careers cut short because of injury. I've seen teammates get traded and cut. And I just like thought that was only going to happen to them and not to me. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, I just felt like this is where I'm going to play for 15 years. Like I had this vision of my career. And obviously that's not the map that God had for me. It started looking that way for about 4 years, and things were outside of some injuries, things were going well on that front. But I think I felt some of that emotional roller coaster without even trying. And I think just without my faith, I definitely would have been consumed by it even more. But I would just tell myself, hey, enjoy it and embrace it. Because I think being on this side of it now, I have a better perspective of, like I've told my wife, I've told multiple people, like the 5 games I played this year, granted I was playing with a half working shoulder for a couple of them. So probably the first 2.5 before the shoulder was about as much fun as I've had playing my whole career. Just because I felt just like free. I felt like, this doesn't define me. This isn't like who I am. And it's just like I was a kid again playing the game I love. And I wish I would have played more games. I think I've played over 100 games. Like I wish I'd played the first 90 games of my career a little bit more like that. And I definitely did. So don't get that twisted. Like I wasn't like this
No.
totally different person, but like this, I just had a different sense of joy and freedom because of the journey I've been on and just the peace that I'm like, God, like you have it in the palm of your hand. And sometimes it just takes living it out and seeing his faithfulness through it to finally like relinquish some of that control and like fully experience that gratitude and that joy.
Yeah, I think that the control piece is so hard to let go of no matter what it is, and there's Proverbs 19:21 comes to mind. Many are the plans in the man's heart, but the purpose of God prevails. Like, you, like every person, has had many plans that haven't maybe panned out, the way that you thought. But how have you seen God's purpose kind of come through? Even because, I mean, I would say this, like, knowing you since then, you spoke to playing with more joy, or like that aspect, but being able to see it from the whole 100 plus games, like I've never seen it as like, oh, he's not having fun, or like when we've talked about football or life, it's just like it's not. That's one of the things that I really admire about you is your stability through it all. Like there isn't like a before fame after fame like difference. Like that's just you are who you are. And but yeah, how have you seen that God's purpose prevailing through your quote unquote broken plans?
Yeah, I would say it's one of those things, and I feel like we just had a Bible study, a couple of us, and this kind of conversation came up is like, why do these things happen? Like, what? I don't know. And we'll never know the why of like, man, I had this vision, I had this dream. God, hey, I should have played in Philly for 15 years and won 15 Super Bowls, and I could tell everybody about it. That's surely that's the plan you have for me, right, God? And it's like you don't really know the why, and you'll never know the why. I mean, we both lived quite the adventure of life, and like you don't wake up and say, "Man, I thought I was going to move to New Jersey and work with some guys and then move back." Like that's your
Right.
story. I never thought that I would, you know, heck, I didn't think I dreamed of making it to the National Football League, but like as a kid, everybody else like laughed at me. So like I never had this dream and woke up um, thinking it was actually going to happen until I literally was just like walking into it. But I also didn't think I'd ever leave Philly and thought I'd play there for so many years because maybe I was just naive, maybe I was overly confident and whatever. But like I see nuggets along the way of like the why things happen. I see the impact. Shoot, I see the impact of 2017 when I tore my ACL, and that's still one of like the mentally hardest things to navigate. Of man, we won the Super Bowl. I wasn't out there. It was the dream of mine as a kid. All of those things, but like I've seen little nuggets of like my story impact others,
Yeah.
or me even being able to go do things and speak at things that I would have never had the time to do, or the capacity to do, quite frankly, while playing. And I see little glimpses of that. I see now I've been on 6 teams or whatever, a new team every year, and it's like, okay, why God? And then I'm like, well, Paul went to like every city in Asia, and he went to every city in Europe. Like this is, and it's not. I'm not comparing myself to Paul. That's a bit ridiculous, but like there's a purpose in the sending. There's a purpose in where God places you and has you, and I've seen little glimpses of that, and it's like, okay, God, this isn't the maybe the football career and the statistics and those things I was like chasing and thinking, but I'm trying to find the purpose in it. And there's, maybe there's just one person or one couple that my wife and I are able to impact in each city, or little things that God's kind of revealed to us along the way of like, hey, I got you. And like I said, this is
Yeah.
where like this year, just playing for the Vikings, like it was almost just like a reminder of like, hey, don't forget, like I got you. And here's a little nugget of joy from like what you really have desired in your heart of just playing for this team.
Yeah.
Although it was short lived, like it just felt like, okay, like another reminder of like, hey, this is God's purpose, God's plan, not mine. Now we have now we live in Indianapolis. Never would have thought that. In the suburbs of Indianapolis, we have 4 little girls that have been born kind of all over the map. And so it's like, it's just part of the adventure. And it's like, I wouldn't change it for the world. But if you'd have told me 10 years ago, I'd be like, not sure I want to do that. Not sure I'm signing up for that. But God's still good. He's on the throne. And we're still loving what we're doing and embracing the journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like, you know, when I was gearing up to kind of bring this book to the finish line, I mean, it's something that I've been working on for 10 years, and it's something that I really like turned a corner when I was living out in New Jersey and just had the space. And I write a lot about that season of our life in the book. But when I was kind of thinking about a forward and just having somebody that can kind of speak into it, not only are you one of my more well-known friends, but like I've seen you live out the message. And, we were just talking about being drafted second overall. Like you uh, have gotten to live out your childhood dream, which isn't as common as we think, and all of those different things. Yet, where you find your meaning, where you find your purpose, and where you find your identity is in Christ. And I've just really admired that. And so I was like, man, I think you'd be the perfect person. But what resonates with the message for you of just everyday adventure, living your ordinary life to the fullest?
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, you just touched on it. Not everybody, and like even just hearing that, like I have to remind myself, like I did and still am living out my childhood
Yeah.
dream, And I think as cool as that is, getting the experience of actually doing that, um, and you hear this a lot in sports, you hear this a lot in things of like people reaching the pinnacle and like still feeling empty.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not saying I've reached the pinnacle. I'm not, but like I've got to live out my dream. Um, and it looks different than maybe I thought at times, but it doesn't leave me empty, but I know like this isn't it. Like I find more joy in my daughters giving me a hug when I come home from my 4 interception game I just threw, or like,
Yeah.
and so like not everybody again can say they've gotten to do and live their dream, so to speak, but by the grace of God, I kind of can. And I can still say like it just falls short. Like it falls short of the joy that I get from the everyday adventure, so to speak. Like, I mean, we just went on a quick little getaway with my kids to Florida, and just seeing the joy on their faces playing at the beach, like we all got sunburn and like all of these things. And I'm like, I've been blessed to be able to play this game and go to Super Bowls and um, kind of do so many different fun things. And like, there's nothing more fun than just like seeing the joy on my kids' faces. Um, and nobody, like, you don't have to play in the NFL to experience that joy. You don't have to play in the NFL to experience the joy of your kid riding a bike for the first time. You don't like these are the things that I truly find joy in. And by the grace of God, I've been able to experience a lot of the things that I would have maybe thought and the world would think bring you the pinnacle of joy. And one of those being just, achieving your dream and living it out. But I mean, it's the everyday things that truly bring me the most joy. And it's my wife, it's my kids, it's the simplicity of just playing at the park with my children. Like
Yeah.
and the older I've gotten, maybe the more I like can finally like acknowledge those things. But like I said, a lot of people don't get the chance to experience those things, so they just keep chasing the dream. They keep chasing the what success might look like, or the family trip, or once I drive this car, or once I do these things, then I'll have joy. And it's like, no, the joy, like kind of what the message of the book is. The joy is in every day. The joy is in what God's placed in front of you, and it's the simplicity of sometimes it's your kids, sometimes it's your wife, sometimes it's just your coworker, and just building a friendship or making a positive impact on somebody. Like those are where I find the real joy. And I've been blessed to be able to find a lot of fun in other things, but like nothing compares to some of those everyday just. I mean, I slept terrible because my child had an earache last night, and it's like I'm holding her, she's like whimpering, but I'm like, it's the middle of the night, and I'm holding my 4-year-old, and like she'll be 25 one day, and like I won't have that. And so like the ability to recognize that, um, even though you want to lose your mind in the middle of the night, like
Yeah.
you can probably relate. Um, there's like those little moments of like, okay, this is what life in this every day. My wife and I look at each other and just laugh half the time because it's like somebody's sick, somebody's throwing up, somebody's got a problem, somebody's not sleeping through the night. And this is what life is about. And I
Mhm.
think everybody out there can relate to that. If you have kids and you're just, and it's like, in a weird way, like that's fun. And in a weird way, that brings me joy, and that brings me really the most joy of all the other things I've been fortunate to do and live out.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea of a full life is kind of what I really wanted to kind of explore. Is just like obviously there's the definitions that the world kind of conjures up of like what a full life is and what a good life is. And then there's what Jesus, really speaks to in John 10:10, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I've come to give life and life to the fullest. Like, what does life to the fullest mean to you?
Good question. I think it's similar to what I just said, quite frankly. I think it's just finding the joy and finding God's purpose in everything. Which again, I can't just ask God, hey, what's the purpose in this and get this clear picture, but he will reveal things at times and little things, but I think just making the most of every opportunity God has for you is living to the full. I've actually, and it kind of goes in line with what I just kind of said, but like I've told my wife this, I've told plenty of people this, like the most full I feel, and is really what I just touched on, but is from my kids. And it's like I'm a planner, I have bucket lists and I've been able to check off some of these things and like I'm like, man, those things are so fun, but nothing is full. Like just simply sitting on the couch watching a movie and pizza with my family on Sunday nights. Like that's what full is.
Yeah.
And like I get that picture of like, okay, why is that so filling to me? And it's like, well, okay, they're my kids, and like, okay, if you don't have kids, how do you relate? But it's like, well, this is how God loves us. Like this is what God finds filling. God finds his joy in is us as his children.
Mm.
And so like my kids maybe don't fully understand that I love them and like this is what like life is bringing my wife and I the most full joy. But as a father, to get that glimpse, knowing like the joy I feel is nothing compared to the joy God feels for his children, which is us, kind of brings it full circle of like, man, like I'm a father and I have the ups and downs, the highs and lows. My kids are terrible some days and they're great the other day. And but like my love for them never changes. And God's the same. And God's the same. And that love is far supersedes the love I can experience. And it's like, man, that's really how much God loves us and values us and sees us. I need to live that out and live that out to the fullest, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And you touched on it, but of course the highs and the lows, I mean, obviously um the experiences of whether it's early in your career with big wins and moving towards the playoffs and obviously your team winning the Super Bowl and then obviously the injuries and all of those, like, was it ever difficult to hold on to that like belief? Was it ever difficult to really like lean in and obviously we know the how the story is unfolded, but how have you leaned in and how has it really like changed your view of success and all of that stuff?
Yeah. I mean, the latter part of that question, I mean, the view of success is definitely changed a little bit just because, I mean, so many factors are outside of your control. And like, there's, and my job is a very kind of glaring one of that. Just there's coaches, there's teammates, there's good situations, there's not so good situations, there's good teams and good
Yep.
organizations, and some not so good ones. And so like I think the world can see that. But like that's just life. Like opportunities come people's way, and like we don't always get to pick and choose them. You get to choose how you respond. But there's so many things outside of your control, and so success isn't um, just up to you. Like that's what I think people think is like, oh, a worldly success is like up to me and only me, and it's like I can control the my response. I can't always control the results, and that's how I feel in my profession. It's like I'm going to give everything I got and just let God kind of do the rest. And so that's where I feel success has been shaped differently because of that. Because it's like, man, I didn't have the season I wanted, or I got traded, or I got cut. Like, oh, now I'm not on a team till November. And it's like, to the world's perspective, like success is it's gone. Like it dwindled. Like it went out last year. Like this was an unsuccessful season. Like that's what the world might look at it as. And it's like, well, God, what did you have for me? Where did you place me? Who was in my life? I've had seasons. Shoot, last year I got the whole off season, and it's like, man, that was successful because I got to just be home with my family way more. I got to work out and make new friends and kind of set my own schedule and throw the football to random people that I met that are, willing to come and work out. And now I have lifelong friends through that. Like it's a season of life that, okay, don't look at it like, oh, that was unsuccessful. It's like, no, it's just success looks different. And you can only control the response and not always the result. And so I've tried to look at life in that way.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this might look like a failure to the world, and maybe it is to some extent, but like I'm not gonna like let that define it and let that define me in the situation. Because worldly success and what God has for us and his view of success completely look different. And we're inundated with the world. I mean, we're inundated with the world via social media, TV. I mean, you turn on any sports channel and they're talking negatively and positively about the quarterbacks or the coach or this and that. And it's just like this is not how God sees it. Um, but everybody else is inundated with those things, so it's hard to like always have that perspective, and that's where you have to just be rooted in God's word and who He says that you are, um, and trying to just listen to the only voice that really matters.
That's good. No, that's really good. I mean, I just think of um, something too with that of like you have moved around. I mean, obviously started those first 5 years in Philadelphia. Then you've lived in LA, you've lived in the Kansas City area, Washington, and I think it was Virginia. Like you've had this kind of geographical journey, like your career has had a journey in itself, but you've also touched some parts of our country. And I think one of the biggest things, it that I've realized is like embracing where you are, and that's not necessarily always geographical, but embracing the season. When I talk to college students who are graduating, it's like really embrace that because you can get caught up in like, oh, I wish all my friends still lived 3 minutes from me. I miss my friends. I miss that season. And we just kind of like don't embrace where we're at. So what have you learned about embracing where you are just from moving so much and being around so many different environments?
Well, thankfully, for one, like in the physical, like without my wife, like it'd be a mess because she's like totally supportive and down for that journey, that adventure. Which maybe wasn't the case right away. Like, okay, I think we had to like go through a season of it and be like, okay, God's still good. God still got this, and now we like try and find the joy in it. And for us, it's like, man, we get to explore another new area. Like, how fun is that? And it's hard. And now we have 4 kids. Last year we trained Minnesota with 3 kids and a 35-week pregnant wife. Like every step of the way has had its own challenges. And okay, my wife's got to find school, a preschool, a doctor, like all these things. I got to learn another playbook. I got to learn a place to live, and all of these things that, like, to some people is overwhelming and hard, which it is hard, and it can be overwhelming and it can be daunting and all of those things. But we try and find the joy, and it's like I do think it's been funny with our kids because they're like they were going home. They're like, where are we going? Where's home? Like right now. And it's like, we're coming back from Florida yesterday. We're going home. Hudson goes, home, Indiana? Minnesota? I'm like, yeah, we're going to Indiana. Like, this is home.
Yeah.
But like next year, home might look different for 6 months. And it's just the life, I mean, I'm not saying we're missionaries, but like you feel a little bit of that, like, okay, God, where are you sending me next? What does that look like in some capacity? And just trying to make the most of it. We view it as like, sweet, we get to go to new restaurants, new coffee shops, new, explore new areas, new parks for the kids. And thankfully, my wife and I are both wired like that to try and just make the most of it and find the joy in it and explore and have the everyday adventure. And, no matter where the game takes us, like last year took us to Minnesota, and I was just trying to stay afloat the first probably 4 weeks. Shoot, even the first game I started, I was like, I came home on Saturday and I was like, honey, I'm taking a nap. Like I am mentally fried. Like I don't take naps. And I'm like, we had company in town. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody for an hour and a half. Like I'm going to the room and napping. But even in that season of just exhaustion and all of that, it's like, we're going to go to a park. Like we're going to find a random park. We're going to Google Maps it and just like go and figure it out. And like the simplicity of that and finding the adventure for our whole family has been part of the joy that we've experienced. And trying to keep it fun for our crew, so that it's not just like a woe is me, like, oh, I'm in another city, oh, Minnesota's cold, oh, it's this, that, and the other. It's like, no, we built ice tunnels and snow forts like this year because God placed us in Minnesota and we might not ever have that again. And the girls were in heaven in paradise for a while. So it's just try and find the most joy that we can in it, wherever God places us, and get involved in the church and get involved with the team. And it's been fun to do that and be a part of that. it's exhausting. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of seasons
Yeah.
I'm like, are we really doing this again? Because you think of like all the steps to do it again, and it's like, man, that's daunting and exhausting. But again, seeing God's faithfulness in it already multiple times just gets us like to this open-handed, like, okay, God, like this is what you have for us, and this is what you want, and this is where you want it. Like, I don't know how to do anything not all in. So when I go, it's go, and it's full send, and that's kind of the approach we've had.
Yeah, no, I mean but that's a perspective. Even you kind of said like the missionary thing, and then you're like, we're not missionary, we don't view ourselves as that. But I think like that's the beauty of it is that we are all sent, as followers of Jesus, every single one of us. And yeah, some of us have a role or a title of missionary, and we're going to, I have friends that are in, remote places and but really like every one of us is an everyday missionary where we go wherever and we bring that hope and we bring that message. And I think but that is a perspective to gain because you can have that woe is me. And obviously you can look at how disruptive, for your kids' early life it was, or, the stories that they're going to tell, the memories that they're going to have, I even Summit, we drive by the hospital, here in Fargo, and he'll say, was I born there? And we're like, no, Kinsley and Rowan were born there, but you were born in New Jersey. Like just even him, and we look at pictures a lot from that season because it does shape us. Kinsley talks about it constantly. Like our next door neighbors that we lived next to, there were a couple that was like my parents' age. They are they're still in our life. Like we still talk to them. Their daughter, who would take care of Kinsley, she's been a part of the launch team, helping bring this book to life. And it's just like kind of crazy how God uses all of that and positions us for those things. And I really think that's awesome. But I think that embracing where you're at thing is a huge part of this and having that perspective, which I've again seen you do. But one thing I wanted to talk about was, somebody that we've both met that was impactful on both of our lives is Landon. And, you know, in early in the book, I kind of share his story because it's a really framing story for me of, just somebody who loses their life at 12 to cancer and obviously the ripple effects that his life had on our community, but also on my life of just putting things into perspective of like life is a miss, nothing is guaranteed. But what impact has Landon had on your life?
Yeah, Landon. And I'll be honest, like there's probably a handful of kids that have had a strong impact on my life when I was young, which to some extent I'm still kind of young, but I feel old in my profession. But my first couple of years, kind of realizing, okay, God's given me this platform, God's given me this ability. I'm 23, 24, 25 years old. And then we started making a difference in a different way through our foundation and doing different things. But like when I realized, um, there's another kid in outside of Philly in Delaware named Lucas. Um, just kind of put it in perspective of like how much bigger life is than the silly game that I play with this egg-shaped piece of leather that we chase. But like to understand myself as a role model in a different way and like the ability to bring joy without really even doing anything. Because I was that kid, and so, like I wasn't going through any of those things, but like I was that kid that idolized football players and idolized baseball players, or like if I got an autograph, I didn't even care who it was. If they wore the uniform, I was ecstatic, and it stayed in my room. And like it's easy to forget those things when you finally live it. Um, so knowing that impact, but then also obviously seeing the tragedy that ensued from a lot of these situations and the way these kids attacked life just put so many things in perspective for me. I think um, just the way they went about their business, the way Landon just fought to the end and was still like others focused. I wasn't around Landon as much as maybe other people, including yourself and those things, but like what I did see, and then like just what I would hear is just like how others focused he was. And I'm like, this kid was, what was he, 11, 10, 11, 12? It's like, man, at the time 25. We're adults, and
Yeah.
this kid's way more focused on others than we are. And just seeing him going through obviously a life tragedy and with the results that were pretty clear that were coming, and the way he still handled and attacked his rehab and handled and attacked just life and just still kept his mind and his eyes focused on how can I help others and make a difference on others, was truly humbling for me because I mean we'd be lying if we said we did that. And and it's easy for us maybe to be like, well, we'll do that. We'll get to that point. Life, I'm 25. I'm now 33. Like, I got a long life to live and to focus on others. And like, but he didn't have that. And
Yeah.
in some respects, some people will be like, man, live it up. Like, live it up for yourself and make the most of it. But like, he still kept his mind focusing on others, which I think is just like, I mean, that's the gospel. Like, the gospel is to bring others to Jesus and to love others as yourself, and to make a difference in that way and bring the light of the world to others. And so I just felt like he embodied that so well. And that impacted me at a young age. Really him and a couple other kids that I realized like, man, there's this impact like that I can have. It's not even doing anything, but also like I have so much like in the worldly sense and not only health, but just this profession and fame and these things that, people idolize. And these are things that like, this is the stuff that really matters. This is the difference that can really make a difference. And Landon was the man. Like, I mean, I loved getting to know him. I loved, getting to see his life lived out in the last couple of years and just how he truly focused on others. And I mean, you still see the ripple effect of his life now, and so many people in the Fargo community, just because of the way he lived his life. And obviously, it's a tragedy. It's sad, and everybody feels the weight of that. But I think the real reason it's still making a difference is because of how he lived and how he handled it, not just another sad, unfortunate story. It's like, no, Landon really attacked it and focused on others, and that's why we're still talking about him today,
Yeah.
quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, and obviously, um, Landon and other kids, Lucas, that was really kind of what pushed you in the directions you went with the AO1 Foundation, and obviously the camp, and that's where we met. That's where we met Landon and so many other kids like him. But what's kind of going on with AO1 right now that you're excited about? Obviously, I think you talked about just kind of leveraging that platform of it's something that even just being around you, I've learned from you of just, you know, you have this unique opportunity where whether it's a signed jersey or a wave or a high five or, can really be something that somebody carries with them. And I've realized that just even in my own kids' lives, like I have that same power that you have. And we all have those people that look up to us that, but with the foundation itself, like what is it that's got you like pumped up right now?
Yeah. Quite frankly, it's a lot of the same stuff it's been over the years. It's just, there's a lot of moving pieces always. Our food truck out here in Indianapolis has been, steadily growing and increasing our capacity, which has been awesome. The team's doing an amazing job. Stories are, wish I could get out there more, but the stories that we hear, the stories that we do get to see every now and then are super impactful. So when it comes to our food truck out here, nothing's changing. We're just trying to keep leaning in and get out there as much as we can. And our chef, our team, they're doing phenomenal. When it comes to the outdoor ministry with kids like Landon that we were just speaking of, with our camp, camp went from 2 to 4 weeks, and um, it's been fun to see the impact it's made on, I guess a different demographic, when it comes to, we've impacted some foster kids now and kind of tapped into that demographic. And I think it's an lesser seen, lesser valued kind of demographic. And quite frankly, when we started, it wasn't a demographic we were targeting, so to speak. But being able to be at the camp and seeing um, that demographic was definitely impactful for me because I mean those are God's children at the end of the day, and whether they have an earthly mom or dad, like they're valued all the same. God loves them and sees them all the same, and so for us to make a difference, and even if it's just one of the 35 kids that were there, has been cool. So not to get down sidetracked there, but like we've increased our
Yeah.
capacity camp. We've done our same mountain movers outdoor kind of hunting and fishing program that we've been doing. Want to keep growing that. Want to keep growing that in the Indianapolis area as well. So that's the gist of it. It sounds like it's much of the same, but it's always just a challenge just to keep doing the same. There's always money there to raise and needs for all of that, and um, I hope to keep growing those things however we can whenever the resources are available to do that. But the stories and the impact are awesome, and I mean we get these like little praise reports every now and then, and just quite frankly, a lot of the times with these kids from camp or from the outdoor ministry, the most rewarding thing is hearing from their parents and hearing like not only are they the kids like turning to Jesus or growing in their faith, but it's and you were part of this ministry, like you've seen these messages, but like when it's the parents, like, hey, now we're going back to church as a family. Hey, now
Yeah.
our life is different. And it's like that's that's the gospel. Like that's how God uses it. God uses people to reach people. And sometimes it's a kid reaching a parent, and
Yeah.
sometimes a parent, guiding a kid. And sometimes it's a total stranger from across the country impacting somebody that's then impacting their parent. And it's like God just weaves this network of evangelists together, however it looks, and missionaries, like we said, people on mission for him. And his word will prevail no matter where it goes. And so it's been fun to
That's
see.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could physically be a part of it and see it more, but every time we get out there, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I just sent you a text, you and your brother, over the weekend because I was at a college conference and there was a number of our former campers that we met when they were 12, 11. Many of them met Jesus at camp and now are serving the Lord and are at a conference where they're leading other people. And it's just like, when we started the camp in 2018 and we were building it when I was out there living with you or living out in the East Coast, like I think we were always praying and wondering like how can we take this from a week experience that just gives them like a really cool moment to being like, no, how do we help them grow and become all that God's called them to be? And so to see it like that full picture for so many of these kids is like really rewarding and really exciting. And that yes, that you could have just I know a lot of people were like, why are you wanting to start a foundation in your rookie year? You're like so soon. You're like just play football, let that stuff figure itself out. And that obedient yes has just opened the door for so many life-changing moments and relationships and which is pretty incredible. But as we kind of wrap up, one of the things that we're doing on the podcast is just something that I've realized in my life is that one of the keys to like maximizing the mundane and owning the ordinary and just really embracing the day is learning to anticipate more. I think sometimes we get caught up in these cycles of going like, once summer comes, then, or once I graduate college or once we have kids and we always kind of push off life and adventure to some other time. So I've learned that the more you anticipate sooner, the more you find joy and celebration. And so two questions to kind of land the plane here. One is what are you celebrating right now? And it could be something big or could be something really small.
Great question. Quite frankly, came back from Florida yesterday and it was freezing cold. Like we're talking like zero, like real feel or wind chill or
Yeah.
whatever. And I land and I'm like, this is so annoying because I don't mind the cold. Obviously, once you get in the single digits or zero, like that's a different level of cold. But I'm like, give me snow. And there's no snow here. I'm like, this stinks. Like there's nothing pretty. There's nothing fun. But I was looking at the weather and we're supposed to dump snow this weekend. So silly and small as that is, like I can't wait to see my kids' joy when the snow falls this weekend and to go sledding and to go play in the snow. And like, again, it's the simple things that I'm like, I'm celebrating this. Quite frankly, our kid has got an ear infection and she was sick last week from something else. And now she's not going to go to school again this week. So there's like everyday mundane things, but I'm like, okay, everyone should be healthy by this weekend. We're all going to go sledding. I'm sure someone's going to cry. Someone's going to have a hard time because that's just what kids do. But like, it's the small things that we're just playing at the beach and now we're going to hopefully get to play in the snow. Like that to me, it's a silly small thing, but I'm celebrating this week because it's going to stink, quite frankly, to get there because it's going to be frigid cold with nothing to show for it on the ground. But then when it gets snow, it'll be like, all right, we're partying outside like as long as we can.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that answers the next question. What are you looking forward to? It sounds like
Yeah.
the snow and
Yeah. And really just the season of life for us. Like, I've my off season generally consists of getting to a mountain for a time or two or three, as many as I can convince my wife to let me go, and bring with, and then a lot of golf. And I can't do either of those with my shoulder this off season, so we're really just hanging out. Quite frankly, there's a lot of different projects that we have going on off the field and different things that we're staying busy with. But just this next season, really 6-7 weeks of rehab plus school for the kids and basketball starting for our oldest, and then we'll transition into soccer and like just swimming lessons and just like the everyday mundane things of it being cold and just being home, honestly. And I love it's good for me because I don't slow down very often to like look at a schedule and be like, for 6 weeks we have nothing. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. But it is good for me every now and then to be like, just enjoy that, enjoy the different type of commitments and the different things that you can do as a family. So actually, I'm looking forward to that because it's just not something I'm used to. Because I plan every detail of and moment of an off season generally, and now God's like, I'm going to kind of remove a little bit of that for you, and just let you be with your wife, your 4 kids, and just the everyday monotony that it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that sounds like an adventure in and of itself for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. So, well, hey, thanks for taking time. I know, obviously as I've prepared to launch the book and everything else, there's just a lot of introspective thought and a lot of memories and a lot of reflection of just like as you piece it all together and you really look at your own story and how God's been shaping you. And just so many of those memories came from whether it's our time working with you or the camps and everything, the opportunities that you've given me. Just appreciate you a ton. And I know the things that we look back at, living out on the East Coast are, the Thanksgiving hangouts because you were in the middle of season. It's that stuff that just really finding that family in that environment was just stuff that we'll never forget or take for granted. So just appreciate you and love you a ton, man.
Really appreciate you, man.
Hey, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, we hope you enjoyed listening to this week's episode with Carson Wentz. One thing I really loved that he talked about was that he used to dream of playing on the Vikings team, but as he got older and now that he actually did get to live out that dream, he realized his dream was much bigger, included a wife and kids and their everyday adventure doing what they love. And something else that he talked about, which is pretty crazy, is that they moved 7 times in 7 years. And so they really had a challenge to love where they live, to make that place home. And we want to invite you into that today as well by challenging you to love where you live in the No Place Like Home Challenge. So go explore your city, try a new coffee shop, try a new restaurant, take your kids somewhere fun, and live every day to the fullest. We love you guys. We'll talk to you real soon.